Hello, everyone. just checking how far I should reach. This is extremely overwhelming, I can say. And I think it tells me two things. One, this should have been a different room. Two, I think it's an opportunity. Yeah? Because if you were here for the disability, get up, move out, and let someone else sit on your seat, okay? Wonderful. I'm going to start with a story. This is a true story. This is a story of a girl named Gillian. I'm really sorry for the people sitting over there, because I don't think you can see my slides, but just the way it is. The story of Gillian. Gillian, this is a true story. Gillian, when she was about 7 or 8 years old in school in the UK, which was in the early 30s, she was a very restless child. She couldn't sit still. She was all the time like this and there. Couldn't pay attention, was a daydreamer, never paid attention, never did her work on time, never. She was like this horrible student to have in class. And actually her teachers said to her mum as well, they said, could you please just take her away, take her somewhere else, or teach her yourself, but don't let her come back to school, because we really don't know what to do with her. We really think, honestly, that your daughter, I mean, if she's lucky to marry rich, that's going to be the rest of her life. Yeah, that's basically her story. Nowadays, luckily, we don't say, I hope your daughter marries rich anymore. At least I hope we don't say this. But we do say a lot to students, or we do say it to parents. Your child's lazy. Your child's unmotivated. Your child doesn't want to learn. He or she can do better if he or she wants to. You hear this a lot. And you hear this a lot, most of all, when you talk about students with SLD. Now, let's talk about SLD first, because the question of today is this an opportunity or a disability? SLD, as you might know, stands for specific learning difficulties. Sometimes also specific learning, disabilities, specific learning disabilities. I really don't like that word. I'm dyslexic myself. I have ADHD myself. ADHD. Any ADHD or dyslexics in the room, please? Okay. Do you consider yourself disabled? Sometimes. But do you truly consider yourself disabled in life as a person? I sure don't. Hell, I don't. I consider myself very abled, to be honest. Gillian, let's go back to her. Her mother took her to the doctor, and she said, listen, dude, look at my daughter. There's something wrong with her. We really don't know what it is. And he sits down in the room, he talks to Gillian for a couple of minutes, and he says to her, he said, look, you stay here, sit here. I'm just going to go out and I'm going to talk to your mother for a while. And while he walks away, he's got this gramophone in his office, and he puts on a record music, he puts on some music, and he walks out. And while he closes the door, he calls the mom. He said, come over here. Let's look through the window and see what your daughter's doing. He said, just observe what your daughter's doing. And I'm not a dancer, okay? So if you're filming this, please erase it immediately afterwards. But she gets up from her chair and she starts dancing. Like, and I don't know what she did, but a lot better than I do. And he says to the mom, he said, she's not nervous. She's not a bad student. It's not that she can't pay attention. She's a dancer. Your daughter is a dancer. And Gillian Lynn was a hell of a dancer. She was the choreographer, I think, of Cats and of the Phantom of the Opera. So not just a ballroom dancer. She was a world-famous dancer and choreographer. World-famous like these people. And I could have hundreds of slides like this one. Do you think that she was disabled? You think that any of these people are disabled? All of them either dyslexia and or ADHD. And when you ask every single one of them, Have you reached what you have reached in spite of or despite of? They said, no. I have reached what I have reached thanks to my dyslexia or ADHD. If I wanted to use this despite, it might be despite school. Yeah? But that's what we're here for. We're here for not to make this a disability, but to look at this as an opportunity. So this is what happens in our educational system. Yeah, it's a very famous picture. People say it's a quote by Einstein. Not true. Okay, just for you to know. Because it always sounds nice, like Einstein said, and then all of a sudden everybody believes it. But it does happen. We do have a lot of fish in our classrooms that we treat as the monkeys. So maybe instead of SLDs, we should talk about ALOs, amazing learning opportunities, because that's what it's all about. And that's what I want to talk to you about today as well. So I'm going to, today what I want to happen is that you walk away with some inspiration. So at least that you don't walk away like, oh God, this is a disability. Yeah, I mean, spoiler alert, the t-shirt. Also that you walk away with an idea of how much of an opportunity this is for you, for your school, for your university, or so how important this actually is, the specific learning differences or amazing learning opportunities, and some ideas. So you're going to walk today away with several ideas of what to do in your classroom with students with dyslexia and ADHD. And if you like, you're going to walk away with 2 gifts as well. I'm going to hand out 2 things today for free. First of all, some numbers. This is from Made by Dyslexia. It's a UK NGO working a lot with dyslexics, and they did a lot of research. So they say that in the total population, dyslexia is 1 out of 5. I think it's a lot. So usually the data I work with, I do quite some research on dyslexia. I've read a lot of papers on it. Usually they talk about 9 to 13, 10 to 15. I stick to 10 to 15 is what I usually work with. ADHD is the second, which is around 5% of population. This autism about 3%. Dyscalculia, dyspraxia, each about 5% of the population. Now it doesn't mean that adds up 20 plus 5 plus 3 plus doesn't mean that 1 out of 2 people in this room is neurodiverse. Yeah, because this is very important to understand. There is a very high level of something which is called comorbidity or overlap between different conditions. So if you have someone with dyslexia, very likely that there might be some ADHD there as well. Why? If you've got someone with autism, very likely that there's some ADHD as well, etc. Yeah, it's not very likely that you will find someone who's only dyslexic or only autistic in the classroom. So you could easily say that about 20% of the population is neurodiverse. 20%. We just had some hands up. I'm pretty sure that was about 20%. I think it was even more because the percentage among teachers is higher. So jobs for neurodivergent people, teaching, engineering, designing, anything that has to do with creativity, 3D thinking, communicating with other people. These are our strengths. This is why this is an opportunity. But let's see how big this is. And I do this a lot when I work with language schools and language teachers. Are there any private teachers here or people that run their own business or that are like freelancers? Okay, there are quite a few of them. So there might be even a business opportunity for you out there. But even if you work in language schools, just think of how big this is. This is where I'm from. I'm from the Netherlands. Boelo van Nepal. Yeah? Yeah? Is that all the Dutch people in the room? Are you here because of my surname? No? Oh, there's a Dutch guy over there. Let's go and see him. Okay, so this is my hometown. Okay, I'm from Breda in the south of the Netherlands. What south can be in a country as small as... Well, anyway, Breda has about this was last year, 188,217 inhabitants. Yeah? Now, population between 8 and 24 years of age, which is more or less the people we teach, yeah, about 43,000. So in a town like Breda, which is the 8th town of the Netherlands, which is like the 13th country of Europe, in a town like Breda, there's about 43,000 people in the age of possibly learning English. Yeah? We're talking about at least 8,600 neurodivergent people in that town, in that city alone. So if you think about where you work, how many people live in your town? And if you work online, how many people live on the... No, not... but how many people live in your network if you work online? Yeah. How many are between 8 and 24 years of age? Take 20% of that. That's how many neurodivergent people there are within your town, within your network. Big problem, though. Big problem, though. The vast majority of neurodiverse people don't know they're neurodivergent. This is the BBC, 2019. 80% of children go through education without being diagnosed. This is dyslexia alone. And I found something very similar about ADHD. I heard it many times. This is ADHD UK, says the same, that only 0.32% had a diagnosis of ADHD, whereas we just saw it should be about 7-8% of the population, more or less. So a huge problem of students with dyslexia and ADHD, a huge problem of students with neurodiversity is that they go through life undetected, that they go through life thinking they're lazy, thinking they're unmotivated, thinking that they can't learn, thinking that nothing's going to happen of them, not knowing that maybe they're amazing dancers, right? Good. This is the huge problem of dyslexia and ADHD. But let's go to the next part. What can I do? What is it that I can do as a teacher? I think as a teacher, there's a lot you can do, but it's not easy to do everything at the same time. So as I said, I do a lot of teacher training, and my teacher training lasts for weeks. Yeah, when someone contacted me last week and I said, "Oh, Boelo, can you do like a 1-hour seminar for our teachers and teach them how to teach our dyslexic, ADHD, and autistic students?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. Can you give me a CELTA course in 30 minutes?" So it doesn't work that way. But what I find is the most important thing that you need to have when you work with students that are neurodiverse, and this is already showing that you've got this: empathy. Whenever you ask a student, because I speak to many students with dyslexia and ADHD, and I say, "So what's the most important thing that you need from a teacher?" And I said, "For them to understand me. Just for them to understand and acknowledge that I work in a different way." Because basically what dyslexia and ADHD is a different way of the brain in processing the information it receives. Full stop. It's not worse, it's not better, it's just different. And if that you can understand as a teacher, when you teach your neurodivergent students, you know that they just process the information in a different way. You are miles ahead of many other teachers already. Recognize it. Be empathetic, but recognize the dyslexia in your students. Recognize that it is an issue. Recognize it's an opportunity. Not recognize it as a disability. Imagine an 8, 9, 10-year-old, because usually kids get diagnosed or get talked about this when they're about 8 years of age. This is more or less when the majority of diagnosis starts, if they get diagnosed. Imagine an 8-year-old seeing their mother cry on the shoulders of their auntie, maybe, and talking about their disability. And I say, "Mom, why are you crying?" "Oh, nothing, baby, nothing, baby." But then the child turns around, walks away, and hears about her being disabled. Imagine you growing up with disability all around you. Amazing. Recognizing that it exists. If only teachers were able to recognize possible dyslexia or ADHD in the classroom, that would already be amazing. I usually say to start recognizing dyslexia in the classroom, the most important thing maybe with dyslexia is that it's something unexpected. It is when there's a discrepancy between what you know the student knows. I know you know this. I know you can do this. but what the student shows. I'm pretty sure you know this because we've worked on it. I see you do this, but for some reason or the other, especially when it's in writing, you're not able to do this. So if you have students in your class that give you something in writing, like a written exercise, and as a teacher, here you go, or even an essay, and you go through the essay and you go like, oh my God, what the hell is this? Yeah? Who are you? You know, who are you? What have you done to my student, basically? Or what happened to you last night? Yeah? What's going on? And you just want to check, maybe same class, put it aside, take the student, come sit here, and do the same thing, the same exercises, but orally. And tell them, hey, great, love your essay, love your writing. Can you talk about me? Can you tell me what you just wrote? Yeah, and if that is so much better than what they have given you in writing, for me, it's a big red flag for, again, a possible dyslexia. I always say this in my training, possible, because we as teachers are not here to diagnose students. Our job is not diagnosing, but our job is to have empathy for them, to recognize it in our students, and then to create inclusive classrooms for our students. This is what we need to do. First gift of the day. I wrote a guide called Teaching Languages to Students with Dyslexia. I didn't bring 50 copies with me or 100 copies. No. I got a backpack, you know, I don't want to pay for luggage. So, but you can download this with a lot of tips you can use with your dyslexic students through this QR code. Now, I can tell you that either you have no Wi-Fi, because I didn't have Wi-Fi before, or because there's so many people in the room, my website collapses now. Yeah, could be true as well. So, two things. Yeah, there you go. So two things you can do. I happens to me all the time, everywhere I go. Two things you can do. Take a picture, my website, yeah? And then later today, you just go to my website, it pops up, and I will ask for your email address. This is not for free, okay? So go to my website, it'll pop up, you type it in, you can download it, easy peasy. And at the end of this session, I'm going to bring this one up again. Yeah, I did it in 2 ways, just in case it didn't work the first time. Let's look at, I think I prepared 4 ideas you can do with your ADHD students and 4 ideas you can do with your dyslexic students. It's part of the course that I teach, okay? Straight from my teacher training. ADHD, write instructions on the board. One of the major issues of students with dyslexia and ADHD is understanding and following instructions. Yeah? It's the whole sequence. It's all the information you give them. Maybe there's 5 steps into what you need them to do. And you tell them, you have to take out the book. You have to take out your student's book. Take out your student book. Open it on page 35. Read the text on the right page. Do the questions below. And then draw a picture. Yeah? 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds. I open my workbook. Page, there was a 5 in it. Oh, 25. Yeah? Oh, text. I remember there was something to do with the text. Oh, there's a text here. Text, picture. And then I start drawing. Yeah? And you as a teacher, you walk around the room, you see what I'm doing, and you go like, hey, you fucker. What book is that? What are you doing? What you said, teacher? No, I didn't say this. These were not the instructions that I gave you. Yeah, but I've got working memory issue. Well, I wouldn't say that, obviously, because I was 9, and I would never say I've got a working memory issue. But this is where all the problems start. And you say, you weren't listening to me. Well, I was listening to you, but my brain didn't process all the information you gave me, eh? So maybe you should have written it on the board. And when you write on the board, not only in instructions, but when you write on the board and you want students to copy from the board, stop talking. Yeah? If you write on the board and you keep on talking, because if you write on the board and talk about what you're writing on the board, it's fine. Because it's visual and auditory for me at the same time works perfectly. But if you write on the board and you want me to take notes or copy it in my notebook, and you write on the board, you start talking, and you start talking about something else, yeah, then me, even presentations here, when I see slides with a lot of text and people talk about something else in the meantime, I'm like, dude, it's either the slide or you. Yeah? My brain can't do two things at the same time. Yeah? So either give me time, and I'm saying time here, give me time to read the slides, or get rid of the slides and let's focus on what you're saying. Oh, sorry, this one. Use analog clocks. Time blindness is a major issue of students with dyslexia and ADHD. So you can see me looking at my clock every now and then to make sure that I don't go over my time. And what helps, because you have a lot of students that are either late to class or finish their work late or hand in assignments late, etc. I mean, analog clock doesn't help them by being on time for class, doesn't help them with assignments, but it can help them in class. So if I have an analog clock here and I tell you you've got 30 minutes for this exercise, if you're very ADHD or dyslexic, you don't know what 30 minutes are. You know that 30 minutes is like half the part of an hour, yeah, more or less, you know that. But you don't estimate time. It's very difficult for you to estimate how much time you have and to organize that time. So if I have an analog clock here, and I say to my students, look, if here, when this one's over here, exam's over or your time's up. Okay, teacher, thank you. I now know how to control time. Give your ADHD students freedom to move. I mean, we saw at the beginning, Jillian, you put on some music, you let her get up off her chair and she starts dancing away. And wow, beautiful. This is what she is. This is what she does. Give them freedom to move. Give them freedom to stand at their table instead of sitting down if they feel like standing. Give them a fidgeting toy as well, something to work with their hands, but not a pen. You know, click, 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 click. You don't want that. But you can buy fidgeting toys online that have a lot of different things, or some clay that they can just work with in their hands. Give them maybe freedom to move, but also if you work in a school and you know that every now and then this student needs to get that energy moving and to do something, just give them a note and say, could you please go to reception and give this to the receptionist, and then she'll give me something back. And then she walks her and says, oh gosh, she can move, she walks her. This is for you. She feels special. I'm a special student now. The teacher likes me. She walks to reception. Receptionist opens it, goes like, want a coffee later on? You know, that's probably what it says. You might want to warn the receptionist about this, you know, they might take it the wrong way. And then they might say, hell no, and then give it back to your teacher, you know. That's it. Find ways for these students to move around. Maybe, hey, you, come to the board and wipe it out for me. That's not because I'm lazy as a teacher. I want you to move. I want you to get that energy in your body moving. And frequent breaks. Yeah, offer frequent breaks to your students. Brain breaks, mind breaks. Many times it's just only the fact of getting up, stretching a little bit, dancing a little bit, well, depending on the age of your students, turning around, sometimes even massaging your partner, whatever, and then sit down again. That many times is enough. Like every 10, maximum 15 minutes per class. This is for students with ADHD. I'm doing very well on the time, I must say. Good for me. Now let's look at dyslexia. Use less text and more visuals. I use text in my slides. Of course, text is important. We work with text. That's what education, that's what the big part of life is all about. But I don't overdo my text. I only use the words that are really necessary for me to get the message across to you. And I try to use visuals whenever I can. But most of all, I use colors. I use colors a lot. And color coding is a very, 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 very important strategy to use with dyslexic students. Very important. When I color code something, I am telling my students' brain what is important. I'm saying, that's important. I'm not saying why, I'm saying that's important. And then the brain will go like, oh, that's important. I wonder why. And then it says, oh, it might be the spelling. It might be that the OU is one phoneme. Yeah? It might be that these two letters combined make one sound. That's color coding. But I color code for the keywords in a text. I color code for vocabulary words. I color code for grammar. I can color code my ing endings in red, or bless you, or in green. Yeah? But very important, when I do use visuals and when I do use color coding, I have to be coherent. Very important, people. I have to be coherent. I've had people that said, oh, Boelo, you told me to use visuals. And then I get like a Picasso picture or Miro, you know, and like 20 pictures on the page. And I go, no, dude, one picture is enough. You don't need 20. One is enough. Or people that start color coding everything. I say, no, one concept a page. It's either the grammar or the spelling or the keywords, but not 3 at the same time. The dyslexic brain can't cope with that. And maybe neurotypical brains can't cope with it either. Use a holistic approach when you teach your students. Dyslexics are very good at big picture thinking. We are very good in overseeing situations, in finding patterns within situations. We are very good problem solvers. I always say this to students, and it's not because I say it, it's not because I'm dyslexic myself, but I've read this over and over again. Whenever in your organizations, sorry about my French, shit hits the fan, yeah, look for a dyslexic person in the room to solve it. Honestly. And there's always someone out there who's dyslexic. You say, hey, you, come here, solve this problem for us. Because they will. They have the power to see the big picture and you go, oh yeah, this is the combination, this is how you solve it. So in teaching, also I use a very holistic approach, a very simple example, because you might go like, yeah, how do I do this in language teaching? If you give me an exercise, like the typical grammar exercise, where I have to fill in the blanks, conjugate the verb, and you give me an exercise with 10 individual lines that are not connected, 10 individual sentences that are not connected to each other, I have to look at the big picture of each individual sentence before conjugating the verb. Yeah? Now, if you give me a text that is all related, a text with 10 blanks, and I have to conjugate those verbs in that text, for me, it's one big picture, and I go, this one, this one, this one, this one. I can do the first one. Of course I can do the first one. But I'll be much faster doing the second one. And even more accurate doing the second one. And chunking. Chunking is so tremendously important. By chunking, what I mean is whatever you teach, whatever you do, break it up in chewable, in manageable chunks for your students, in digestible chunks for your students. And a chunk usually in teaching is between 5, 7, maximum 10 minutes. Everything that's over 10 minutes, stop, do something else. Do a chunk again, build a break in between. And usually what I say is, well, every item you teach, every concept you teach, one concept is a chunk. One concept, break, another concept, break, another concept, break. Very well, 1 minute left. This is just a little bit of what you can do. I told you, I can't give you everything in 30 minutes time. But my idea is for you at least to take something away from these 30 minutes. The beauty is that there's so many people of you here. And I really say that it's beautiful because a couple of years ago when I started doing what I do, and I do this 24/7, a dyslexic student in Spain, where I'm based, said to me, she said, oh, Boelo, you know, finding a teacher who knows about dyslexia and who cares about dyslexia and cares about dyslexic students is almost like finding a unicorn. And I usually say to teachers in my training, when they finish, I always say, congratulations, you are now a unicorn. So, thank you very much. Please take this opportunity, and I told you there was two presents. Yeah, one is this, which you can either download using this, or you can just go take a picture, go to the website, and download it during the day. Because for all the downloads of today, so everyone who downloads it. Well, maybe tomorrow as well, but today I can manage, yeah, on my I will also give you, as soon as I get back to Spain, which is next week, a free access, so not 39, 0, access to my masterclass Dyslexia for teachers, online video-based, Meet-on included, okay? Wonderful. Thank you.